Good. I just want to start, everybody, by really just offering my condolences to Dr. Epps and really the whole Temple community. She was such an extraordinary leader, and in my time there, she became the faculty athletic rep and was such a huge advocate for sports and really the student athletes in that program, and such a staple in that community and really in academics and athletics and academics. So really sad to hear of her tragic passing yesterday. So with that.
Hey, Sean, we've seen at times you have defensive ends line up out inside and tackles line up outside. Generally speaking, what's the benefit to that, and how early in the process do you figure out who can do that?
Yeah, that's it's an ongoing process, and really we're always looking for different matchups and trying to create different angles and rush points and create different matchups for our guys versus their guys. And so all of that kind of goes into that process of where we want to align guys from a front structure, and then you can see it on the back end similarly of how we try to coordinate some of our coverages along with that. But that's really it, trying to find different matchups and different points for our guys to go and be aggressive at.
When looking at Mario Goodrich and how he played last week, how would you assess it, and where do you think he can grow?
Yeah, I think he got thrown in there. He got thrown in the fire there unexpectedly, I'm sure, for him. But that's a great lesson for everybody to always be prepared. Having that next man up mentality. And I thought he got better as the game progressed. There were some things early that. With some motion things and things like that, he kind of just had to feel and settle in there a little bit and gain some confidence. And then it's something we emphasize to all of our guys is in those moments, you got to really rely on your training and your preparation, and the trust that you've got and the techniques that we're teaching. And he got to that point, and he's just going to keep growing from that. It's his first time playing NFL football in that environment on a Thursday night. What a special moment for him to be able to get out there and do that. And now it's time to take the next step and really trust in all of his training and techniques that we're teaching him.
Sean, what did you see in Bradberry when he was working in the slot there in the summer, and what about his skill set, kind of fits that role?
Yeah, I thought it was great. The one thing you talk about James and really a lot of our, especially our older guys that have played a lot of football, is they're so smart. They're so football savvy and football smart that some of those transitions for him as we were doing some of that stuff with him, became a little bit simpler for him because he understands the game and understands what we're trying to get done with some of these coverages and techniques. So I was really impressed with how he was taking on to that role and not really sacrificing his corner role, because that's his role. He's our corner. But he was learning that, and then it helps him and I think really everybody in terms of the way we teach it. It helps everybody learn all 11 and why we're doing certain things from a coverage standpoint. Because we're all 11 as one. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, what are some of the traits that, we saw Mario in training camp outside and inside. What are some of the traits he has specifically that make him a good slot? Yeah,
I think really, and I'm going to try to answer that on a bigger level. What I think makes good slot players here in this league is you got to have high instincts and you got to have real good football savvy and feel because things in the slot happen from the left and the right. As opposed to if you're a corner, things just happen inside of you, and you're playing your man-on keys. Where here, the game happens both ways. You're the primary communicator on bunch and stack tools. You're the primary communicator and adjuster on motions. So there's a level there of not necessarily stress, but an extra added layer of how you got to play in that position. And then people try to attack the slot in different ways in this league, whether it's, the simplest way is the slot option route, but through the stacks, through the bunches, and through different releases that they give you. So I think all of that stuff are things that we look for in kind of a slot defender, of who can handle that stuff and process that stuff and be able to adjust within the scheme to play those techniques.
Why did you go with Morrow as the Mike?
I think it's kind of all been part of our plan, of rotating and developing guys, and he's got a lot of experience, has a lot of experience there. He's had some experience playing the green dot, and he's had some experience in our defense over the last 6 months communicating there. So we just thought that week was the decision to go with there.
In past years, your has kind of been that safety and slot, or more interchangeable than maybe corner and slot was. How is that in your defense, and can those safeties cross-train the slot as well?
Yeah, for sure. And I think the value the thing, and I've said this so many times to our players, and even I don't know if I've said to you guys, but we really value ourselves in our teaching, right? And teaching our system and teaching our coverage responsibilities. So really, the fundamentals and the techniques we try to cross-train and learn across the board. And so whether it's a safety that has to come in there and play a slot or a corner that has to come in, and you've seen it with different guys through training camp and through the offseason that we've been getting guys in those roles to get them adjusted to that teaching. And so they understand what the techniques and the concept of the defense is and how to play those techniques. And now it's about getting that time on task. So I think, yes, I don't think necessarily it's only from one position to the other. I think it's a matter of what that guy can process and learn at the techniques and fundamentals that we teach and how it fits into the rest of the 11. Because obviously if you move one guy, you're affecting another guy somewhere else. So we got to really put the whole picture together.
Sean, what do you see now when you look at Baker Mayfield? What is he doing well?
Man, he's I don't know if it's a good fortune, but I've played him a couple times now in the last few years. He's such a daring, courageous guy, right? He's aggressive with his mindset and how he wants to push the ball downfield, and he's operating at an efficient rate to complete some of those passes downfield. And he's got some really good skill players to target downfield. And you see him, he's got good pocket savvy and good feel. He's a tough tackle and a tough sack. He's strong and stands there in the pocket and can be elusive to get out of it. And, he's just not going to take the hits. He's going to try to make something happen. And that mentality of trying to make a play happen, he kind of always has it in that gunslinging role of where he's going to throw that and trust his skill guys to make some plays for him.
When it comes to slot versus outside corner, just in general terms, you don't see a ton of long slot corners, and you guys have a lot of long corners. Is that something you've seen, you've experienced, and why is it if that's the case?
Yeah, I don't know, and I think that's a good question. I think really different probably philosophies and different systems. My guess is there's probably a notion that longer guys aren't as quick in transitions to be versus slot option routes. I'm not necessarily that believe. I think if you can play an option route, you can play an option route. If you feel the option stem and you play your leverage right, you should be able to play it appropriately. And so I think a lot of that probably is just kind of, in the football way of thinking over time, that longer guys stay outside, smaller, slider guys go inside. But I think in this day and age, you got to keep adapting because it's really like on the flip side of it, you say, well, forever people were saying that, a guy with Mike Evans' height and skill set doesn't play in the slot. Well, he's showing up a lot in the slot tape, when he's in there because they're trying to create those matchups that way. So we got to be able to adjust our techniques and fundamentals that way too, and I think we try to do that with our teaching.
He gets kind of lost in the shuffle with with two first rounders and Fletcher, obviously, his stature. What has he done? What have you seen in the first 2 weeks from him, and what is it about him that maybe shouldn't get lost in the shuffle?
Yeah, I think the thing that we've seen, and I'm glad you brought him up because he's been a critical asset to that front, is his physicalness and his consistency. He strikes at the point of attack, and he's sound with his technique and fundamentals. I mean, Coach Rocker does an amazing job with all those guys, and really, he's been a guy that we've grown up in here where he stays physical and he's got versatility. He can play a lot of those inside positions for us, and you've seen that in the first couple weeks. And so I think he provides a good balance and a good toughness and adds a level of toughness continuing to that room.
Have you been surprised at all about the jump we've seen from Jordan Davis as a pass rusher?
I don't know if that's really a fair question for me because, from the offseason, I've told you guys what I've seen of him. And my experience of him has been that he's got it in him to be this explosive, physical, knockback type of player and disrupt games, and he's done that. Our challenge is always going to be, not just with him, with everybody, is to keep stacking that and keep developing consistency that way over a longer period of time, whether it's within a full quarter of a game, 70 plays, and now through a season. So for me, I've always felt that in my experience with him, that he's had that in him, and so we're trying to continue to be consistent, getting out of that, and Coach Rocker, again, has done a great job of demanding that from him.
What have you seen from Hassan as he's trying to deal with that injury and playing through it?
Man, he's been so gritty and so tough. His play temperament is there. You see him knock people back at the point of attack in the run game and even converting in the pass game, and he's getting there. He's getting around this quarterback, and this is he won't take it this way, but it's a compliment to him that people are addressing him in terms of chippers and getting people around him, and it's our job and my job in the role I'm in to help him, to get him in some different matchups and different situations, move him around, and we'll continue to be better at that for him.
What were your impressions of Josh Jobe in his first start, and whether or not he will continue to be a viable option for you?
Yeah, Great question. Similar to Mario, and he actually got thrown in there a little bit earlier with that, but he did a good job. He did a good job overall, and I know the big touchdown pass. I got it, and that's not just on him. That's a Russian coverage thing. We got to be better. All 11 of us got to be better. I got to be better with the play call in that situation to help him out, and then we got to get there and not create a step up lane for him, for Kirk to get to that read. And then Josh got to be better with his leverage and getting it down. But overall, I think he did a good job. He challenged up front with the receivers, and our challenge, again, like similar to Mario, is just going to be continue to build that confidence in him because he is an NFL corner, and he can be a good NFL corner.
I'm sorry, Fletcher Cox is taking a heavy workload here in year 12. Is that consistent with how you plan to use him? Do you expect to get those guys behind him more time? How do you see that going forward?
Yeah, I think, it's that the mentality that we've got up front, like we've said, is going to be to try to keep bringing guys in waves and keeping guys fresh. And then that means, obviously, through the course of the season, but that also means as the game progresses, at the end of the half in the 2-minute situations, at the end of the game in those 2-minute situations, is to make sure our guys are rolling and they're fresh and they're at their best because they're fresh. And I think that we'll continue to keep that philosophy going.
Your run defense, I think, is ranked second overall, but passes, I think, 30th or 31st. Is that a matter of the young guys kind of feeling their way, or what else can be done to kind of improve the pass defense?
Yeah, it starts with me. I got to do a better job in terms of our preparation and our techniques and fundamentals, emphasizing things, better job in terms of putting our guys in positions to make those plays. And then collectively, I think, that there are some things that we know that we got to get cleaned up with our techniques and fundamentals that we got to emphasize better and differently from my end as the coordinator. And then we keep mixing things up with coverages, and keep putting our guys in better positions on better situational plays to make some plays. And then when we got opportunities to get eyes on the quarterback, or eyes on a check down or a ball carrier, we go and then we make them feel the presence of a bunch of guys coming to break on that ball and tackling it.
Overall, you guys do have multiple takeaways through the first 2 weeks. And in terms of what you said before the season about wanting your defense to be able to be felt by the other team, how do you feel that your defense has accomplished that through the first 2 games?
It's early, and I'm proud of our guys. I think that they have demonstrated a level of physicality and consistency and a relentless effort, and those things are the things that are palpable, that people can feel, and they've gotten after the ball. They've created disruption. They created havoc, and I'm proud of them for doing that. Now, does that mean that we're the final product yet? Not close. And I think our guys know that also, and that's okay. I mean, it's week 2, and we're getting better, and we're going to continue to get better, and we want to be peaking. We want to keep rising with our level of play and get humming when it's time to hum, and we will. We're going to get there, and each week we're going to make progress and get better, and then we're going to go. And I think we're getting there. We're getting there, and we're going to continue to be better. But I am proud of how they've been felt, and I think they're going to continue to raise that level also.
One touchdown on the.
Joshua had a nice summer. He's got sacks in consecutive games. Now, what's stood out about the momentum he's got going?
He's just been. He's carrying everything Coach Washburn and we're teaching with a front perspective into the game. He's being consistent with it, and then when he gets those opportunities, he's taking advantage of them. And I think that's a credit to him and his work ethic and his preparation that he's been doing. And Coach Washburn's done a great job of putting him in those spots. And he's had, like you said, a few games where he's been able to show it. He's been really physical in the run game too. And I think that's really all those guys up front have been really physical in the run game. And it goes back to your question of being, wherever we're ranked there in the run defense, but that's that palpable feeling. Like, you got to set that tone that way, and our guys know that we got to make sure we eliminate something.
The one touchdown looked like a blown coverage to us where people went to Jefferson, which is understandable. Yeah. Osborne kind of leaked out. Is that a communication issue? What's
it's a couple. That's right. There's a communication thing, and it starts with me again. I got to make sure our guys are prepared to, in that situation, to make sure the tools and the communication level is relayed across all 11. It can't just be, me thinking a tool or a player just thinking a tool. It's got to get coordinated, and that's where we go back to. From a rush perspective, we want to be 4 or 5 as one. From a back end perspective, we want to function as 7 as one, and then ultimately as a defense, we want to be known as 11 as one. All of us got to be on the same page on every single play, and that's a great example, a great learning point for us of it's got to be all of us. you know, and myself included. It's got to be me setting that tone for those guys.
Is Todd Bowles someone you have a background with from your Temple time?
I've met him a couple times. He's awesome. And I have so much respect for him as obviously as a head coach, but even as a defensive mind and a defensive coach. I had the good fortune. I'll leave you guys with this story. We did a Temple coaching clinic a couple years ago. I can't remember what year it was. And one of my contacts was like, "Yeah, come on, you'll be, you know, the guys will be juiced up about you." And I'm a quality control at this point in Chicago. I'm like, "They're gonna be juiced up about me." He's like, "Yeah, NFL, all that stuff." I'm like, "Okay." So I go and I show up and I'm sandwiched between Todd Bowles and Bruce Arians. I'm like, there is no way these people came to see me over here. But that's right. No, coach is he does an awesome job. A lot of respect for him. Yeah, thanks.